Ethan never believed in last chances. He believed in timing, and for him, timing was always wrong. The rain fell hard that evening, blurring the roads, the lights, and even his memories. He sat in his car, fingers tapping nervously against the steering wheel. Inside was Emma. 3 years ago, he promised, "I will never leave you," before slamming the door. That silence had stretched into an unbearable chasm. For 1,000 nights, he replayed that fight, wishing he could rewind time and choose a different path. A frantic call had brought him here. Emma was in critical condition, and the doctors were losing hope. His phone glowed with an unsent message. "I am here." His thumb hovered over the screen, trembling. Was it too late? Would she even want to see his face? The hospital entrance loomed like a dark, foreboding portal. He took a deep, shaky breath. This was not about his pride anymore. It was only about her. With a surge of resolve, he finally pressed send. The message delivered. Ethan killed the engine. He walked toward the glowing lights, toward Emma, and toward one last chance at redemption. 3 years ago, life held a deceptive simplicity. In the bustling corridors of college, Ethan and Emma's paths converged. Emma was the quiet anchor, noticing every small detail with a gentle spirit. He would only smile and say, "I will, just not yet." That not yet eventually became a chasm. When a job offer from abroad arrived, Ethan's decision was instantaneous. "What about us?" she asked, her voice a fragile whisper. Ethan's reply was flippant and fast. "We'll figure it out." The initial flurry of messages soon dwindled. Conversations grew shorter, the warmth replaced by a chilling indifference. There was no dramatic farewell, no tearful goodbye to mark the end. Instead, a profound and echoing silence swallowed their shared past whole. Only the quiet remained. 3 years had passed since Emma's last message burned into Ethan's phone. "I wish you chose me." He never replied, leaving those words to hang between them like an unbridgeable chasm. Now, as the afternoon sun cast long, indifferent shadows, a new notification flashed, ripping open wounds. It was an unknown number, stark and urgent. "If you are Ethan, Emma asked for you. She's been here for weeks." Weeks? The word echoed in his mind, a cold dread seeping into his bones. He stared at her old chat, the ghost he never deleted. He chose silence then. Now, silence felt like a betrayal. His car door creaked open, a jarring sound in the sudden quiet of his world. Each step toward the entrance was a monumental effort, his feet heavy with fear and hope. The sterile scent of antiseptic hit him, mingling with the bitter tang of his own regret. At the desk, his voice caught. "I'm here to see Emma Clark." The nurse's gaze lingered, a flicker of pity or judgment in her tired eyes. "Room 214, she said flatly. The number hung in the air, a destination he both yearned for and dreaded. The sterile scent of antiseptic hit Ethan first, a cold, sharp contrast to the warmth of his memories. He pushed open the heavy hospital door, the soft click echoing in the sudden silence. And then, time stopped. Emma lay there, a frail figure swallowed by the vastness of the room. She looked smaller, yet it was undeniably her. The same deep-set eyes, now clouded with fatigue. A symphony of soft beeps and rhythmic whooshes from the machines reminded him of the fragile life they sustained. Ethan took a slow step forward, his heart a leaden weight. "Emma," he whispered, the sound raw and unfamiliar. Her eyes opened. Confusion flickered, then a spark of recognition ignited. 2 silent tears traced paths down her temples. "You came," she breathed. Ethan swallowed hard, the words tasting like ash. I should have come earlier. A faint smile touched her lips. You always say that. Too late. The simple truth broke him, and his carefully constructed walls finally crumbled. The sterile scent of the hospital room clung to Ethan like a shroud. For years, Emma had meticulously hidden her sickness. He traced the lines on her pale, fragile hand. She had kept her pain a secret while his dreams of becoming an architect took flight. She believed with heartbreaking certainty that he would never stay if he knew the extent of her suffering. I didn't want to be the reason you stopped, she whispered, her voice barely audible. Ethan shook his head, a knot tightening in his chest. You were the reason I should have stayed, he countered, his voice raw with grief. The silence that followed was suffocating, filled with the crushing weight of unspoken regrets. It was a pain that settled deep into their very bones. The aching quiet of what could have been. Emma gestured toward her phone. I made something for you, she murmured. Ethan picked it up, seeing a recording dated 2 years ago. He finally pressed play. The sterile room was silent, save for the rhythmic beeping of machines. Ethan sat by Emma's bedside, clutching a worn phone. He pressed play, and her voice filled the air. Hi, Ethan. I don't know if you'll hear this, but I never stopped loving you. I am... The recording continued, each word a fresh wound. I used to wait for your messages like an idiot. If you're happy, then I'm okay. The audio ended abruptly, leaving an echoing void. Ethan felt a cold dread settle over him, a premonition of finality. Tears blurred his vision. Why didn't you send this? He choked out. Emma's eyes were clouded with pain, but held a gentle gaze. Because I didn't want to make it harder for you to leave, she whispered. The words struck him like a physical blow. He dropped to his knees, sobbing. I never wanted to leave you. With a strength that defied her frail body, she placed her weak hand over his. But you did, she stated, with a profound, heartbreaking acceptance. The machines grew louder, marking the relentless passage of time as he clung to her hand. The first rays of dawn pierced the blinds, painting the hospital room in soft, golden hues. Emma lay serene, her breathing a faint whisper against the silence. Ethan sat beside her. Stay, just this time, she whispered. He leaned closer. I am not going anywhere, he vowed. He had spent years chasing shadows, but now he only wanted this fragile peace. But life is relentless. Suddenly, the quiet hum of the machines was punctuated by a sharp, insistent beep. Ethan's gaze snapped to the monitor. The green line faltered, wavered, and then stretched. The sound screamed a chilling finality. Emma? He whispered, his voice cracking. There was no response. Only the kind of silence that lasts forever. Days later, the sky wept, mirroring the desolation in Ethan's heart. Rain lashed down. He pulled out his phone and found a draft he had never sent. With a trembling thumb, the words, I am here, floated into the digital ether. But there was no one left to read it. The rain washed over him, a cold curtain of regret. The sterile scent of disinfectant clung to Ethan's clothes, a cold reminder of the hospital's grim reality. He stood motionless, a statue carved from grief, his gaze fixed on the still form in the bed. Emma. Her name echoed in the cavern of his mind, a whisper that brought no comfort. Outside room 214, the world marched on. Nurses' shoes squeaked on linoleum, and distant monitors beeped. But here, time had ceased to exist. Everything had stopped, except the silence. It was a heavy, suffocating blanket that pressed down on him, crushing the air from his lungs. It was the loudest sound he had ever heard. A gentle touch on his shoulder startled him. A nurse stood there, her face etched with sorrow. "I'm so sorry," she murmured. Ethan couldn't respond. His fingers were still intertwined with Emma's, her hand now chillingly cold. Gone. The word resonated like a brutal chord. He squeezed her hand, a desperate, futile attempt to hold on to the warmth that had vanished. The chilling words, "No, she was just talking," escaped Ethan's lips as a barely audible whisper. He clutched the phone, its cold surface a stark contrast to the burning denial in his chest. "She said she wanted me to stay," he repeated, treating the phrase like a desperate incantation. 2 days later, the world mirrored his desolation. Gray skies wept a persistent rain. It was the day of Emma's funeral. Ethan stood at a distance, a solitary figure under the vast sky, deliberately isolating himself from the clusters of mourners. Then, one woman emerged from the blur, her presence cutting through the haze of his despair. It was Emma's mother. Her eyes held a disturbing calm, the profound stillness of a soul stripped bare. She moved with a quiet, deliberate grace, making her way directly towards him. "You're Ethan, aren't you?" Her voice was soft, yet it carried an undeniable weight. He nodded slowly, a single, almost imperceptible movement. She gazed at him. There was something far more devastating, a profound, aching understanding of his loss.